Oh well. No good sales on meat, but I did get some more of that chicken that they marked down. So that's okay. Anyway. There's the Xfinity store. There's the bakery. Everything there is just disgusting. I can't believe they stay in business. Oh well. One of these days I'll understand why people have an addiction to sugar. I don't see the point of it. Okay, let me see if I can. All right. Got to remember that thing always flips down. Well, see, now they call the police department the sheriff's department. Something that they voted on in the state. You can no longer have a county police department. Which is, you still have city police, but not the county. Anyway, that TJ Maxx over there, this is where the old Redneck Bar and the feed store used to be. But, of course, the early 80s, tore it down, and they built what they have now. So, what else has been here? When they opened this shopping center, sometime in the early 80s, 84, 85, I don't remember, this pool hall, which they originally called Shooters Billiards, now they call it Sharpshooters Billiards, because they had some other business called Shooters that came and went, but it's still there. This pool hall has been here since I was in high school. It's crazy, but it's still there. Anyway, they put this pedestrian thing right there in the parking lot where it's hard to get to. Not very smart. But anyway, let me see if I can get across here before the light turns red again. I think I can make it. Let's see. Well, we're going. And that always falls down every time I hit a bump. Anyway, am I still recording? Yes. Now, I was giving you a little bit of the history of this area before. But what I want to talk about now is something that has really been bothering me. And I've had people say, well, Rick, why do you criticize some of these people that they have their private carnivore groups and they have their carnivore coaching and all the other stuff? Well, the reason that I'm critical, carnivore movie or whatever, how much money has been spent on making carnivore groups, carnivore movies and such, but we have a really bad problem that nobody's talking about. And that's the fact that in order to be a carnivore, you need meat. And we're running out of meat. It appears that somehow the price of meat going up and up and up, and it's getting harder to find. Now, if you're familiar with the meat industry, you'll probably know one of the reasons why meat eating is considered to be unsustainable. It's not that necessarily it's hard to grow animals. The problem varies by the area. For example, if you live here in Miami, the reason we can't grow animals is very simple. Because we have unbelievably inflated real estate markets. All this property you see here, which is now offices, gas stations, whatever, this was all farms. And what did we used to grow down here? Well, South Florida used to be very popular with cattle and dairy. And this is because you can graze cattle year-round. You don't have to cut hay. In fact, the only reason that we cut hay was for the horse people. We never really cut hay to feed the cattle. There's also a wide variety of forage. You have your regular grasses, but you also have things like elephant grass. And you have things like sugarcane. Sugarcane, which is grown for sugar, was also fed to cattle. Many of the farmers and ranchers, they would raise it as cattle feed. There's also a wild grass, Pennisetum purpureum, which is a very invasive elephant grass. You used to find it on every empty lot. As soon as a lot is abandoned, a bird poop out some seeds, and before you know it, it would become elephant grass, which is not really that big of a deal anymore, because where are you going to find an empty lot? Sometimes you'll find it growing in the bushes. You might find it growing along the road. You can still see it. And if I go out to horse country, there's a couple of empty lots. You can find it there. But for many years, all this land, while it was laying in wait for development, the most popular use was pasture, whether you had horses or cattle. Now, the other common use of land around here was for fruit trees. There were many groves. Land was commonly divided into 5-acre parcels, and those parcels would be planted with some of the most popular fruit trees. And what would they be? Well, a lot of people, they liked mango, avocado, and various forms of citrus, lemons and limes, and of course, oranges. So you can find that everywhere. Here's some elephant grass trying to sprout up. The only empty land left is this land next to the turnpike. That's it. Everything else has been developed. So there's absolutely no chance of this ever becoming agriculture again. Once farmland is lost to development, that's it. I see the mulch they put down. Remember the bags of mulch in an earlier video? They sprayed herbicide and they put down pine bark mulch. This is their attempt to try to keep these pine trees alive. But the problem is, if they didn't put the proper soil fungi, these pine trees don't have a chance. Sad but true. Okay. All right, here we go. See if we can get across here. No crosswalk. Typical county laziness, stupidity. Oh, here's some elephant grass. It's trying to grow up, but it's still small. This is some young Pennisetum purpureum elephant grass. If they don't cut the grass for a while, it will grow pretty tall. It can be 15 feet tall under ideal conditions. But it looks like they're doing some mowing, so they probably won't have any. But anyway, so with the loss of so much agricultural land, what do we get instead? We get a bunch of development. We get roads, which you can't grow anything on, you just drive on it. They also add to pollution and heat. You get homes, and it depends on what type of home. If you have single-family homes, a lot of it depends on who lives there. Some people, typically in the richer neighborhoods, they'll plant a lot of trees, but in the poor neighborhoods, they won't. You have a few open space parks and greenways. Not a lot, but there's a few. But nothing productive. Is it possible that there might be some fruit trees growing here? Yes. There are fruit trees all over the neighborhood. I see a sea grape tree. I see a mango tree, but nothing of any significance. And because any fruit trees that are here are grown in individual lots, that fruit isn't going to be shared equally. A lot of it just rots. But back in the old days, when we still had cattle. People had goats, all kinds of animals. Fruit that would go bad, instead of letting it rot in the field or in the farm, we would often give it to the animals. They would eat it, and they convert it into poop. Having rotten fruit laying around your grove is not very good because that can be food for insects and other pests. It can also feed the rats and the squirrels. But once a cow or goat eats it, it's just converted to poop, and that's it. Oh, there's a loquat tree. I wonder if somebody picked that other jackfruit that was here. Yeah, it looks like it's gone. So somebody picked that one. There's some smaller ones over there. Nothing goes to waste around here. People are desperate. They'll pick anything. If there was a mango tree, they'd strip it down to nothing. I know how they work. Anyway. But yeah. And again, you can see this mahogany tree that's leaning over there. That was from Hurricane Andrew. Over 30 years ago, shortly after they planted it, they all kind of blew sideways. So what can we do? If you're a person that lives near farms and fields, consider yourself fortunate. You haven't been in the path of this outrageous development. Here in Miami, the goal has been to cram as many people per square inch as possible. The more people you can stuff in here, the more money you can extract from them. So they got rid of the four-legged cattle, and they put in two-legged cattle. Now, when it comes to the food you eat, if you're one of those people that eats vegetables, you're probably buying them from a big farm. It's usually going to be from a foreign country or somewhere in the US that has access to cheap labor. Some people, they grow their own vegetables, but not many. And that's the problem. One of the biggest issues with meat is that animals are large and they can be expensive. So buying a whole animal is probably not within the reach of most people. Okay. Rotten fruit is still there. Been there for weeks. So when it comes down to it, what's the solution? Well, if you eat fruits and vegetables, you have a lot more options because you could probably grow those things yourself. And it's pretty easy to find someone, maybe at a farmer's market or something similar, who can sell you fruits and vegetables. But if you eat meat, where are you going to buy a whole animal? Us meat eaters, we have to buy animal parts. Our society is not set up for animal processing. Now, a lot of people do hunt, including my friends, and occasionally me. Small animals are easy. You can simply grab them and prepare them, stuff them in the refrigerator or freezer, no problem at all. But what if you wanted to eat beef? Somewhere between the rancher and you is going to come a meat packing house. What if you wanted to process your own meat? What would it take? Well, if you lived in an apartment or condo, you're out of luck. If you live in a neighborhood like this, you might be able to get away with it, but probably not. The government would be after you. What if you had a place that had a few acres? Well, if it was zoned agricultural, you could probably get a whole animal, put it in your yard, and process it at home. A lot of holes. This place is dangerous. Anyway, so you have that option. But how realistic is it? Really? Probably not very. So this is a problem that I'd like to see solved. Instead of spending large amounts of money setting up groups, making movies, and all this other stuff, there's got to be some way of creating cooperative investment or something where people could go get access to animals and a way of processing them. Maybe like a hunting club, but for cattle or goats or sheep or whatever. That might be an option. If you live in an agricultural area, you have more options. You could go and purchase a whole animal and do it yourself. But oh well, it's something to think about. Hopefully somebody will come up with an idea and get back to me.